Hello you action figure enthusiasts out there, JC here with another T&I toy review. And today's review is in association with MarvelousNews.com, your #1 news source for everything Marvel. And for today's review, I'm going to be bringing you two for the price of one while I look at both the X-Men Marvel Legends Tiger-Stripe Wolverine and Sabretooth figures from Hasbro. Now these figures come packaged in the same style that we've been seeing with all the X-Men Marvel Legends. You've got the black box with the yellow highlights. Up at the top, you've got the Marvel Legends series logo. At the very top, you've got the X-Men logo. The figures are clearly displayed. Down below, you've got the X-Men and the names of the characters. Then on the sides of the packaging, you have artwork for the characters. On the back of the packaging, you have a look at the actual figures, and then brief bios in multiple languages. So we've got Wolverine, and then Sabretooth. And then down below that, we've got to look at all the figures in the wave that you need to get in order to complete the Apocalypse Build-A-Figure. Alright, let's get these open and take a look at what's inside. Okay, so here's a look at the figures outside the packaging along with the other content. Okay, so for the Apocalypse Build-A-Figure pieces, the Sabretooth figure comes with the left arm, and then Wolverine comes with the tentacles or the hoses that go from the arm of Apocalypse or arms of Apocalypse to his torso section. So you can see here with this arm, you would just plug it in, and then the other one goes into the torso section. And so you get that with the Wolverine figure. Now I'll be looking at the Apocalypse Build-A-Figure in its own review once I've looked at all the other figures in this wave, so be sure to check back for that. Now Sabretooth doesn't come with any other accessories other than the Apocalypse Build-A-Figure piece, but Wolverine does come with two different pairs of hands. So with Wolverine you get the pair of hands without the claws, and you've just got the little nubs that are sticking out of his knuckles with the blue gloves, and then you get the pair of clawed hands, and these are the ones that are attached to the figure when you first take it out of the packaging. And like with previous Wolverine figures, these claws are actually removable. You can just kind of pull them off and they plug in with little pegs. So technically you can make these non-clawed hands, but you do get the holes in them still. So that's why they gave you the second pair without the actual claws in them at all. Now because the claws are removable, you know, they may come out of the packaging a little bit bent, but it's pretty easy to straighten them up since they're removable. You can just kind of unplug them and then plug them back in more straight. So that's not really an issue. And to switch out the hands is easy. You just pull out the hand that you want to replace. You got the peg on the hand and the hole in the arm, and then you just plug in the hand you want to replace it with, and it should plug in nice and tight. Okay, so for the figures themselves, starting off with Sabretooth. Now this is based on Sabretooth's second look in the comics. This isn't his original look, but it is the one that probably most people are familiar with. It's the look he had in the 90s X-Men cartoon. It's the Jim Lee era style look for the character. And overall, I think Hasbro's done a good job with it. I like the face sculpt. He's got some red around his eyes, and then he's got the whited out eyes. I like the wash effect in his hair, and I like how it's sculpted. So I think that looks good. And he's got the hair kind of coming out here on the sides of his face. He's got the fangs, which are sculpted, and you can see his tongue inside his mouth. So I like that detailing. And he's got good skin tone as well. And then he's got the brown mask, and again with the hair that sticks out on the top. Now he's got this mane that he wears, and this is actually a separate piece. So I like, again, you have a wash effect. It's done with a grayish type color, a white gray, and you've got that wash effect. But I also like that you can actually remove it. It just plugs into the back of the figure. Now this figure does incorporate that Hyperion body mold for the torso section, the legs, upper legs as well, and maybe the upper arms I think as well. But you know, I like how the fact that they actually took this and made this a separate piece. And it fits on the figure pretty good. You've got those double holes on the back because again it incorporates the Hyperion mold, but you can stick it in there, and for the most part you can get it in there pretty tight as long as you get it in the right hole. And you know, like I said, I like that they made that removable. And then you've just got the brown and that kind of orange yellow color throughout the rest of the figure. And I think they've done a pretty good job. You've got these things that stick out on the sides of his arms, and that's in keeping with the comics. I don't know if that's supposed to be bone or what that is exactly. And then of course he's got the claws, so he's got the very pointy tipped fingernails. He wears the gloves over his hands with this costume, and so overall pretty good detailing. Not a whole lot of paint sloppiness. I mean, it's a basic paint with the brown and that orange yellow color, but overall it's a pretty solid job. Not any really major paint blemishes. Maybe I have a little bit of bleeding over here, but that's kind of hidden with this bone piece that sticks up, so not a big deal. And then you've just got the yellow-orange color going down. You got the tiger stripes on the side of his legs and the brown on the inner thighs there. So like I said, I think they've done a pretty good job overall with this figure. Okay, now for the Wolverine figure, I've got to be honest and say this is probably the best Wolverine figure that Hasbro's done to date. Now, we've gotten the Tiger-Stripe Wolverine before from Hasbro, but I think this is a definite improvement over the previous ones they've done, and even like it better than the more recent brown costume Wolverine figure that they did. And I'll show you comparisons of all those in just a moment. But overall, I like this expression they've given Wolverine with him gritting his teeth. I would say this, Wolverine's tiger stripe outfit has kind of changed a lot over the years, and I would say this is more in keeping with the Jim Lee style or era of tiger stripe Wolverine. And you've got the longer mask pieces that stick up. Sometimes these are done shorter and such, but I think I like it longer. I like it better when these are longer than shorter. And so that's the solid black, and it's done with just a rubber material, so you don't have to worry about them breaking off or anything. And then you've just got the yellow on the mask. I do have a little smudge here on the top of his head, not a big deal, and it is just a basic yellow, but it is yellow. It's not the orangey kind of yellow like we saw with the previous Tiger Stripe Unmasked Wolverine that they did. And he's got these shoulder pads, which are actually articulated, and they're done with a metallic blue, so I like that. And then he's got the yellow shirt with the tiger stripes on it, the black tiger stripes, which are painted on there. So I like that, and I like the sculpting detail on his back and everything. He's got a good skin tone on the arms and the face, and I like the whited out eyes and the wrinkles under the eyes and everything. It's a very Wolverine-like expression that they've given him, so I definitely like that. He's got the belt, which is a separate piece, and it does have the X symbol on it, which again is kind of in keeping with the Jim Lee era of the character. And he's got the blue shorts, and then again he's got the yellow for the legs, and then he's got the boots with the things that stick up, and these again are done with kind of a rubber material. They're a little hard, more solid than the tips on this mask, but still you don't have to worry about them breaking or anything. And then he's just got the blue on the boots. The blue on the boots and the gloves and his shorts are more of a flat blue, and then he's got the metallic blue on his shoulder pads here. Okay, now Wolverine stands, if you count to the tips of his mask, about 6 inches tall, and Wolverine is a shorter character. And then the Sabretooth character, which is more of a taller character, he comes in at about 7¼ inches tall. Okay, so here's a comparison with the previous Sabretooth figure that Hasbro did. This was part of that Toys R Us exclusive X-Men wave. And these two figures share a lot of the same parts. They both have the same torso section. This figure also used that Hyperion mold with the 2 holes on the back. And it seemed to have the same legs and feet and upper arms. The lower arms are different between the two figures because you've got those bone pieces that come out on the lower arm for the new figure. And then of course you've got the main piece that you can plug into the back. You could actually put it on this older figure if you wanted to, but that's not really part of that look. And you can also switch out the heads between these two figures, which I'll show you in a moment. The hands seem to be posed fairly similarly. I don't know if they're exactly the same, but they do have the same kind of clawed pose. And you've got the fingerless gloves on this older one, and then the new one, he's got the full gloves on. But overall, I like this newer figure just because I like this more classic look for the character over this newer look that they did on the previous one. Okay, I've done a quick head swap between the two figures, and you can see both fit on the bodies again because they're using the same torso sections and everything. So both heads fit good on either figure, so you can pose them however you want. And again, you can also stick that main piece on the older figure if you want to. Okay, and then one last comparison I want to give you with Sabretooth. Here's a look at the old classic Sabretooth figure that Toy Biz did in the same costume. And while this was a great figure for its time, I definitely think this new figure is a nice update for this look. Okay, now for Wolverine, first of all, here's a comparison with that brown costume Wolverine figure that Hasbro did, and this is probably my second favorite Wolverine figure that Hasbro has done, and might even be my first if it wasn't that I just like the tiger stripe outfit better than the brown costume. And I don't have the Toy Biz tribute version with the unmasked, but again, I think these two are both very solid figures and good representations of the individual costume. Here's a comparison with Hasbro's older X-Force Wolverine figure as well as the Old Man Logan figure. And then finally, here's a look at various Tiger-Stripe Wolverine figures that we've gotten over the years. So from Hasbro, we've got the Unmasked Wolverine figure and then the previous Tiger-Stripe Wolverine figure that they did. And definitely I like this new version over these two. And then also just for comparison, here's a look at a couple of Toy Biz Tiger-Stripe Wolverines. This was probably my favorite of the Toy Biz era of Tiger-Stripe Wolverines. And then here is a second one. This one I just like the overall look, even though he does have this strange hole in the back, but still it's probably my favorite from Toy Biz that we got for this character. Okay, so with a little bit of effort and the help of a hairdryer, I was able to get this Unmasked Wolverine head off of this older Hasbro Marvel Legend Wolverine figure. I wanted to see if it all would work on this new version. So you can set the mask piece on there if you want to. Now the color is not exact. There's a lot more orange on this mask piece than on the actual figure, but you can set it on there. Unfortunately, the ball on this new figure is much bigger than the ball on the older figure. So if you really wanted this head sculpt to fit on there, you would have to drill out that hole a little bit more, and then you could probably get it on there. So I can just kind of set it on there just to kind of give you an idea. Now, I don't have the Wolverine that came in the Toy Biz Tribute Wave, so I don't know if that head sculpt would work with this or not. But this particular one would take a little bit of customization work to actually make it work. And again, I don't know if it's worth it or not, but I just wanted to give you an idea of how it would look. So for articulation with Wolverine, you can turn the head to the left and to the right. It's on a ball hinge joint, so he can look down good and he can look up pretty good as well. Now you really don't get a whole lot of head pivot with this one. With the arms, you've got the standard ball hinge joint there at the shoulder, but he can only get his arm out about that much. You do have this shoulder pad. The shoulder pad is articulated, but still that's about as far up as you can get the arm. You do have good rotation even with the shoulder pad. That's not limited at all. You also have a bicep swivel. You also have this butterfly type joint, so you've got back and forth movement there with the arm. You've got a double hinged elbow, so good bending there with the elbow. You've got rotation with the hands and hinges on the wrist, so up and down movement there. You've got an ab crunch type joint, so you've got good down movement there and pretty good back movement as well. You get that clicky noise there with the ab crunch. You've got a waist swivel with this one. With the legs, he really can't do the splits that much. That's about as far out as you can get the legs. You can get the leg forward and high good, and you can do the leg out and back. You've got a thigh swivel. You've got a double jointed knee, so good bending there with the knee. You also have a boot cuff swivel. You have hinges on the feet, so up and down movement. And you do have ankle pivot with this one, of course, and two peg holes on the bottom of the feet. Now with Sabretooth, he can turn the head to the left and to the right. Again, it's on a ball hinge joint, so he can look down really good, and then he can look up really good as well. You, again, get a little bit of head pivot with this one, but not a whole lot, but probably better than the Wolverine figure. With the arm, you can get the arm out good there at the shoulder. You've got good rotation there. You've got a bicep swivel. You've got a double hinged elbow, so good bending there at the elbow. And then you have rotation with the hands and hinges on the wrist, so up and down movement there. He's got an ab crunch joint, so he can crunch forward that much. And he can look back really good there at the midsection as well. He's got a waist swivel with the legs. He can do the splits that much, and he can get his leg forward good. And he can do his leg out and back. He's got a thigh swivel. He's got a double jointed knee, so pretty good bending there at the knee. He has a boot cuff swivel, hinges on the feet, so up and down movement there, and then he does have ankle pivot and two peg holes on the bottom of the feet. Okay, so that's my review. So overall, I really like both of these figures. With the Sabretooth figure, I wouldn't really say it's an improvement over the previous version. It uses a lot of the same parts, but overall, I like this one better just because I like this classic costume better than the one they did on the previous version. With the Wolverine figure, this is definitely a nice improvement over the previous Tiger-Stripe Wolverine figures that we've gotten in the past. It's got good articulation. I like the paint detail. I like the facial expression. I like that you get the extra pair of hands without the claws. So if you're a fan of Wolverine and you like this tiger stripe outfit, I think this is one you'll definitely want to pick up. Now both of these figures, along with the rest of the wave, has started to see a limited release and should start seeing a full release at the end of this month or early August. We'll have a full image gallery up at marvelousnews.com. There'll be a link in the video description below. As always, leave a comment, let me know what you think. If you're so inclined, please like the video, and if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button down below, and also hit that bell symbol for notifications for when new videos go up. You can also follow me on my Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch accounts. I have links to all those in the video description as well. And until next time, guys, I will catch you later.